Well, Dave, something we never talk about, and I'm a huge fan. We talk about sports a lot, but we never really talk about what I consider to be the toughest trophy to win in all of professional sports, and that's the Stanley Cup. And we got two teams. Boy, Connor McDavid, he's been the hot shot, the poster boy. He's finally going to the Stanley Cup. Uh, I'll tell you what, I love it. I love it. I'm not sure why you guys don't like hockey more up here in the Northwest.
Well, I think it's not as many teams out here for a long time. I think hockey's coming on though. I think more and more people. I mean, it's a great sport. I told you before, my mom played hockey in high school up in Bentley, Alberta. All my cousins
Mm-hmm.
played. One got as far as pretty high junior hockey before he, had his dreams dashed, I go to speak. But yeah, my mom knew about hockey when I was a kid. I was football,
But
basketball, baseball kid, but I watched some hockey.
but Dave, those guys take a beating. I mean, we talk about football players, but I
You know.
mean, baseball players don't take a beating, but boy, those hockey players, they come back. I mean, they're hurting. You know, that's a tough
Yeah,
sport to play, man. That's a tough sport to play. What do you think?
I think hockey's right in there with football. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the fist fights they get into, just the contact. They got a lot of pads like football players. I think the scariest thing would be having that, rock flying around the stadium at, Mach 30, clock you in the head. At least now I think they have a lot of, stuff to protect them a little bit more. But man, oh man, yeah, hockey's, you can't deny those guys are tough for sure. But Connor McDavid plays for the Oilers.
Yeah, the Oilers. Yep.
I mean, he's kind of like the today's version of maybe a Wayne Gretzky coming up.
Yeah, he's the poster boy for sure. And he's been, he's been on all the video game covers, for years. And he's had a tough way to go though. He's come up second place. A lot of people,
Yeah,
forget about that. These guys go through these, any sport. Sometimes they
right.
play for years and they come in second place, or they don't even make the playoffs.
Ironic he plays for the Oilers like Gretzky did.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's an interesting one right there. But okay, question for you then. We just had the inflection of baseball added all the Negro League stats to the
Mm-hmm.
major league stats, and we talked a little bit about this the other day. Give me a little bit more of your answer on that one, and I'll go.
I think, and I was actually talking to someone today about this, it's become such a generational thing that if you're kind of a younger guy, kind of like you're okay with it. I'm okay with it. I guess I don't really have any sort of
Wait,
issue
whoa,
with
whoa! You just said you're a younger guy.
yeah.
Okay,
I'm okay
okay.
with
I just
being
wanted to
I'm
clarify.
okay with being a
Okay.
younger guy. I don't know about you boomers and what you guys do and all at your age and stuff like that. No, I'm kidding you, Dave. We're actually close in age. But my point is, in discussing this, I've noticed it becomes a real division on, oh, okay, you're old school baseball, or okay, you're one to embrace kind of new ways. So, um, I don't know. I think there's so many things that have happened with baseball that have been so different that
Right.
this is just another thing that's different. What do you think?
I think as we're now into this era where like baseball's 100 and pushing 130 years old or whatever, and as the world changes, I think people want to have that traditional stuff that they want to go with the, they call it the purity of stats or something like that. But it's like basketball at the 3 point line that changed the whole game, and so football, we can't touch Tom Brady. We got the new quarterback rules. I mean, I don't think Tom Brady plays 20 years under the rules that Roman Gabriel and Fran Tarkenton and even Joe Montana and John Elway, back in the day, Dan Marino. I mean, they were getting clocked. Favre was getting clocked. I don't think Brady had to live through that. So I guess I'm good with it. I think the these guys were playing a high level of baseball, and we can't sit back here in 2024 and say they weren't as good, not as good, better. We just don't know. We don't have all the stats on. We don't have TV like today's world. I think young people can see everything played back for them. Back then, we didn't have that. Like you look back to Ty Cobb, even early Babe Ruth. We don't have any recordings of that stuff. To sit back and just watch it and go, Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Mhm. The one criticism I would have just of anything is that it's really hard to compare eras because the pitching's so different, and you don't know what the pitching was like. Obviously,
Mhm.
Satchel Paige and Cool Papa Bell, those names, but those are two guys out of how many teams. So, was the pitching good, and was it up to par with major league pitching? I don't know. I wasn't alive back then, but all in all, I think it's just a good way to pay tribute to all those players who played in the Negro Leagues, who really paved the way for a lot of guys. So, I think, for me, I have to kind of embrace it from that angle. I think, yeah, it's different, but it's a lot of things are different with baseball. But Dave, I got a question for you that you kind of brought up. So you
Bar.
talked about you talked about like Roman Gabriel and some of these old quarterback names, and it brought back to me. We used to be in an era where there was an athlete on the box of on the cereal box, Michael Jordan or whatever. Like we had O.J. Simpson was doing the Hertz ads. We've talked about those. We kind of don't have that so much anymore. We have Shaquille O'Neal doing a bunch of stuff, and he's more of an actor now than he is an
Yeah.
athlete. And we're kind of missing that all American athlete being the American hero. Don't you think that's true? I mean, it's become more of a social media and influence and all that stuff. What do you think about that?
No, I get your point. I mean, go back to Roman Gabriel, Alex Karras, O.J. Simpson. A lot of these guys went into movies. A lot of former pro athletes have tried that. Not too many have been amazing. They found their niches in there. Um, yeah, I think sports though today has gotten so heavy money wise. The salaries are enormous. So I don't think these players are really looking to. They don't need to go make any more money. I mean, you go back in the day and well, all the way through, like take baseball, for example, and basketball and football. These guys went and got summer jobs. They were working for bigger companies like GM or DuPont, or they were selling cars, or, they had to go work in the summertime because they weren't making the big bucks. They had to keep, putting food on the table. And then I think some of those guys, like Roman Gabriel, for example, Alex Karras, they got into some movies. Joe Namath got into commercials. O.J. Simpson was, I don't know if I'm wrong here, but he was like one of the first multi, commercials, movies, and everything. And he did pretty well for himself. Unfortunate life moving forward for that guy. But I want to go back and say something though on the Negro Leagues. With the talent. I thought about this since we talked the other day, and I got to think, that just speculation on the athleticism of say Jackie Robinson, coming in. That there were a lot of Jackie Robinsons out there. He got the opportunity because of Branch Rickey and the Dodgers. I get all that. It was great for Jackie Robinson, and it was brutal at the same time. We still had a lot of people, that just weren't ready to move on from the racial tensions. But I guess deep down, I just feel like those guys could play ball, and I think a lot of them would have been in Major League Baseball had they been given that opportunity. And I think it's like today, though. It's like Caitlin Clark. And this is my question for you: is like she's kind of getting a massive dose of racism in the WNBA right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched some film the other night, and I'm like, the referees are standing right there, just seeing her just get cheap shotted,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, man, these. It's like when Larry Bird came to the NBA with Magic Johnson. I mean, that transformed the NBA. I think Caitlin Clark is kind of that kind of talent now, and if these WNBA players don't, get it together and embrace what Caitlin brings to the game, and stop this, whatever it is, whether if it's racial or it's just jealousy, I don't know, but Caitlin Clark can flat out play. It's just like Larry Bird. He could flat out play. It didn't matter what color he was. She can just play. I've never seen a woman who can shoot with her range. I've never seen a woman do some of the stuff she does. And I think the NBA or the WNBA better be really careful here how they tackle this whole thing, because I think she just wants to come in and be a player, and she doesn't need to have people coming up and the girl Carter the other day that came up to her and just dropped her. And then
Mhm.
after the game, she goes, "I didn't do anything wrong." I mean, that's got to go. I mean, I think the Carter girl should have been suspended. I mean, if Caitlin Clark hits Carter that way, suspend Caitlin Clark. I mean, there's no business in sports for cheap shots. You know, sports are tough enough just as they are. You know, there's a lot of contact in basketball, not as much as hockey, not as much as football. But, you know, when you get to that elite level like NBA, WNBA, I played against a lot of good basketball players. It gets physical out there, and there are no pads. You know, you're not wearing any pads in basketball. So, what's your take on the whole Caitlin Clark thing right now?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I don't really watch a lot of basketball. I mean, I enjoy the NBA to an extent. You know, I know who's playing and stuff like that, but I really don't pay much attention to the WNBA. It's a lot of the folks for me, Dave. As you know, I have young kids, and it's just in the evening. I just don't have time. I don't even know who's playing. Like I said, I barely knew about the hockey because I follow hockey. So yeah, shame on me. I'm not going to tell you. I'm proud of it, but I don't really get a chance to watch too many of the games. But I will tell you, do you remember growing up in Missouri, there was a player named Jackie Stiles, and she actually played for Southwest Missouri State, the Bears, and well, she was lights out. She could shoot that three. You know, was and ended up, was one of the most popular players in America. But she went to the WNBA and just, she played, stayed for a long time, but she definitely didn't have the type of fanfare that she did when she was in college. So that's a little unfortunate. I don't really know how to rectify that. How do you give them as much credit as professional athletes? I don't know how that's possible, but definitely they deserve it. They're doing everything they can to achieve. But I don't like that she's become the sideshow. It seems like whenever someone's going off an athlete, there's all of a sudden a sideshow now around that athlete. So where the officials are involved with it and the other teams, trying to taunt the person. And to me, I think that just makes it worse. So I don't like that. But again, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of the WNBA or basketball in general. I love the college game, but that's where my love is kind of.
No, it's good. Hey, the other day, I don't think I told you too much, but for anybody listening, we'll have more people. Obviously, we'll be posting this to our webpage for people to listen back on this whole thing. But what's interesting is last Friday I got to go to an equestrian at the highest level, and there's pictures on some of our short reels that'll be on our standtallwithDaveBrown.com website. And I am next to people that have been in the Olympics. I'm looking at horses between $400,000 and $500,000 horse. I'm right next to them, and this is high end equestrian, and it's just another world. It's almost like a James Bond movie I was in for like 5 hours, and it was fascinating. And I'm not a horse guy. I love horses. Never have been good at riding them. I was good on motorcycles because the motorcycle did what I wanted. But yeah, horses hasn't been my gig. But this was Rob. This was like watching something I've never seen before in athletics. And I like sports in general. I mean, I really do. It's so much fun. But dang, those people put a lot of effort into it. I mean, it's definitely a money sport. Takes a lot of dollars to make it happen. But boy, talking about a wonderful experience. I think back to your hockey thing, it's kind of like that. I think we grew up with what you can afford. You grew up in a big city. I didn't. We're all exposed to different things, and yeah. But that's something that I really want to take some friends to because it was amazing.
I got to tell you, if you are ever down in the Louisville area, Louisville, Kentucky, go to the Churchill Downs. There's a museum. It's fascinating. It's really awesome. We went there. Obviously, Kentucky Derby wasn't going on, but we went down to the Churchill Downs Museum, and they have like life-size models of how big these horses were, and just
Oh, they're big,
you talk
big.
about machines. It's really a great. So I definitely admire the precision of anybody that deals with horses because you got to really, be on top of things for sure.
Hey, another quick one for you. So we talked the other day, Bill Walton, the great basketball player, radio announcer, controversial, big deadhead, the whole 9 yards. We talked about him in a podcast, so he passed away a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about how, I was telling you how just more than normal that kind of hit me. You know, we were some friends and they told us that day. It happened a couple days before that and I didn't know. And it kind of hit me a little sideways because I really liked Walton. He was part of Blazer Mania when I'm 19 years old. And, you know, I mean, I went to some games, you know, through the playoffs and you know, at that time they were putting, uh, you know, back in the 70s, even they were putting us out at different places on big pictures, you know, in different the Paramount Theater and the Expo Center. You know, there'd be like 5,000 people in the Expo Center watching a big TV screen. You know, it's ironic now that we have, you know, you go to a bar and you got, you know, 10 big screens. Of course, these are movie sized theater screens, but,
Yeah.
you know, the thing with Walton, though, I was going to ask you, I was like, I've told everybody, they say in today's Portland Trailblazers, not very good right now. What would you do, you know, if you were the general manager? And I said, I'd bring in Bill Walton. I'd give him, you know, pretty good paycheck, you know, $500,000 for say a month and say, teach these kids how to, you know, get up above the rim, grab the rebound, pirouette in the air like he did. He was 6'11" with good hops and he could snap that outlet 40 feet on a dime. And I think these kids playing today, I see their post non-moves. They don't have anything like, you know, him or Olajuwon or, you know, they don't have a go-to. They got their back to the basket 5 feet and they can't figure out what to do with it. They can't throw an outlet pass. What do you think? I mean, I would have hired Walt and said, come in and work with these guys for a couple months at a time.
I love that idea, but that is a great segue because I know we recorded the podcast on Saturday, but coming up this week, we talk about the tribute to Bill Walton. I think that show drops on Wednesday possibly. So check iTunes. I don't want to give it all away because I thought it was a great conversation about Bill
Yeah.
Walton, and but also part of the time here on the live stream, I definitely want to promote the podcast. So Dave, podcast we record that every Saturday. We've been dropping episodes every day of the week. We talk about politics, sports, religion. We're on iTunes, Apple iTunes, as well as Spotify. You know, talk about the podcast. You enjoy doing it? I mean, you seem like you and I. We definitely have a lot that we talk about. But what about you? You still enjoying doing it?
You know, I'm becoming more of a fan because, you know, I've coached, you know, thousands and thousands of kids and every single kid. Last night we're at Buffalo Wild Wings and I ran to 5 kids that I'd coached. Three of them and been around all 5 of them at Newburgh High School. Two of them are one's a pro pickleball player. The other one's a D1 soccer player. The other one's a D3 soccer player. The other kid's just ripped. He's in the weight room all the time. The other kid's a lacrosse kid from a small college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, it was so fun to see them, you know. And but I think, you know, all the kids I've talked to, including last night, they're podcasters. They don't watch CNN. They don't watch Fox. They don't watch ABC, NBC, CBS. Not much ESPN either. They don't read newspapers because they're hardly out there anymore. They don't read magazines. They podcast, and it's just I'm coming to grips with it because, like you probably, I grew up reading the Oregonian when it was a really good paper, and you know, cover to cover. And I tell people all the time we didn't have money to go out hunting and fishing. And so I learned how to hunt and fish through the paper. I would read all about these guys going out and fishing and hunting. So I was able, as I got older, to dialogue with people, and they go, "Well, you know quite a bit about fishing." I go, "Never been," but I would read that paper cover to cover. Start with football, basketball, baseball, you know, tennis, golf. I'd move into yachting and boating and outdoor fishing and hunting. And the kids today don't do that.
So let me ask you this: are you a Funky Winkerbean guy or a Mark Trail guy?
A what?
Funky Winkerbean or Mark Trail?
Oh boy, what are you?
Oh, neither one of them. I'm a Beetle Bailey.
Oh gosh, The Wizard of Id was a classic.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yep.
That was just I'll never forget the cartoon where it was the all the dogs in the neighborhood are out in their yard talking to each other, you know, and the one dog's in the car in the station wagon going down the road, and he leans out the window and he goes, "Hey fellas, I'm going to the doctor to get tutored." That was 40 years ago I read that. I'm still laughing about it. Like,
Right.
oh gosh, I mean, you know, I think that, Rob, turns into this question for you. Uh, Yesterday, I had a lady at the swimming pool, And oh my gosh, she was rude. And she came up and started talking politics, and she was just hammering. So half hour later, though, we kind of left on good terms. I kind of got her calmed down a little bit. Today, just the exact opposite. The lady came up, gives me a big hug. Don't even know who she was, and she was said, "You're like my favorite person in Newburgh. Thank you for all you do and work on." So I think it's like pro sports. One day you're hitting a home run, the next day you're 0 for 4 with a bagel.
Yeah, but and I know something we've talked about. And we're going to have to get off here in a little bit, but it's like you hear about all these people who are against Dave Brown. It was like 12 people or something. It wasn't like hundreds of people. So it's just they have active Facebook accounts, and I mean, is that the way it went down? I mean, you're in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, she called me early on in the conversation. I've told you this before.
Yeah.
She called me a racist blankety blank, and I looked at her and go, "Why would you say that?" And I go, "Would you like me to clarify why I don't think I'm a racist?" And she goes, "Yes." And I go, "Growing up with people from the West Indies and Barbados," I go, "we didn't do color." I said, "We never did color in our house." I said, "You seem to talk about it. We never did. We just brown, black, or white, rich or poor. People came in our house drinking like crazy, or people went to church. My mom and dad, everybody was welcome. We didn't color code anything." So I don't know. It's just in today's world, we're still a little funky with the how people perceive other people.
Well, anyway, listen, buddy, I'm gonna have to let you go. It's time to put old Rob to bed and get ready for another day. But it's been fun. I'm glad that we're getting this live stream going. I'm excited for you to continue to do more and to be able to have some great guests. I know you got some guests coming into town and some
Yep.
things like that. And you've been meeting a lot of people, so yeah, good luck with all that, man.
Well, I appreciate that, Rob. Thanks for being here with you on Stand Tall with Dave Brown. Go to DaveBrown.com, and we'll have a lot of stuff on there. Rob puts a lot of stuff on there on our podcasts. The live streams are going to start happening daily, and with a lot of different guests on split to 3 to 4 people on the screen at the same time, talking about education, politics, Jesus, sports, and people stories. Got a lot of cool people stories coming up. And like the Bill Walton thing is just one example, but even just normal people that aren't famous like Bill Walton was, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we look forward to having you back. Thank you so much for listening, Rob. Have a great night.
Yeah, take care, Dave, and we will see you next time for sure.
Peace.